Oh, Sam Sorbo, you're at it again, aren't you? You know I don't like talking negative. You know I like keeping it positive and make people laugh and smile, but I can't help the fact that I still tune into a lot of conservative radio, and I have to wonder, and this is an honest question, I'm not saying this to be, well, I guess I am trying to be a little provocative by this. Do they even, conservative radio talk show hosts, do they even read or study anything that they say? Or do they even think? Let's not even say go so far as to study, but do they even think about what they're saying? Sam Sorbo, I'm going to read you a quote. It's not an exact quote, but it's pretty dead on, close to it. I was driving at the time, and I didn't want to text or something myself and die, because I want to relay this message to you. She said, and I quote, "Anyone who's never had a job before should be appalled and completely against the raising of the minimum wage." Okay, I do understand why she's saying it, but she's thinking about it all wrong. She's thinking about it from a selfish point of view. And she would probably say something completely against that and say, "Oh, no, I'm for the American people." But you're not thinking. You're not looking at the bigger picture. And I was talking about this a little bit last night, and I'm going to talk about it a lot tonight. But this boiled my blood enough that I had to get on here and say something about it. First of all, from the obvious point of view, anyone who's never had a job, or anybody who's struggling to get a job, especially those who are making minimum wage, which on average is actually people just a few years younger than me. People are being forced to take these jobs because they can't get other jobs, because there's not being jobs created in the fields that they have skills in, or the skills that they have aren't in demand, which is sad because I feel like I'm one of those people. I'm not saying that I'm the most skilled artist or musician or entertainer or whatever it is, but it's tough to get into a field that you're trained in or you're really good at, naturally good at, that isn't a needed field. You know, if you're a great baseball player, becoming a professional baseball player is going to be very hard to get into. Do I think they make too much money? Absolutely. My point is you're still thinking about this from the trickle-down perspective. Now, if trickle-down worked, then we'd be all set. We'd be fine. But she's saying things like, if we raise the minimum wage, then all these employers are going to have to raise the cost of their product, inflation, because they'll have to make up all these taxes. And you're going to create new taxes because you're raising the minimum wage. Now, let's look at this from the flip. Think about the flip side, let's say. Think about it from the top down. You can't tell me that the heads over at Walmart, the CEOs, the corporate offices, the people who are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year, are reinvesting in the economy, because a lot of their money is going to, it's not trickling down, is my point. My major point being, is it's not going to hurt, not just our government, not just our people, not just corporations, if we have some form of redistribution of wealth. If you are raising a family of 5, and you're a CEO, and you're making, let's say, $500 million a year, your family's well off. You probably have multiple homes, multiple cars, they're going to the best colleges, which is great, but I guarantee you're still just, wiping your asses with hundreds. And my point being is, if you cut all the corporate salaries, even by like 10%, which isn't big, and I know you're going to be up in arms about this if you're a Republican, but the fact of the matter is the people up top are making, and I've said this a million times on here, and I'll say it again, since 1950-something, basically, we were closer in wages. The top people deserve to make more money if they are the ones that went to school to learn these skills. They were the ones that started these corporations or this product that went over well, or whatever it is. I don't disagree that people at the top deserve to make more money. They're the ones that made the investments. They're the ones that came up with the product, and I don't think that they should be making minimum wage by any stretch of the imagination. But I also think that a family of 5, that one of them is making minimum wage, the other one maybe is lucky making $15 an hour or something like that, is capable of surviving much longer on what they make, and they're forced to rely on other means of income, credit cards, loans, and people don't have so many liens or whatever on their houses nowadays. The fact of the matter is if you paid people, like I said, from 1954 or whatever it was, you start seeing this spike. This starts going up a little bit over time, not much, but this just starts to take off. So you get this huge division. Now, if it had kept closer in the middle, there'd be no complaints. We wouldn't have these economic disasters that happen, every 10 years now. People can't go out and buy stuff nowadays and fuel the economy because they can't afford to. You're telling me, and she said this as well, that raising the minimum wage will not increase the amount of money being put back into the economy. Bullshit, first of all. Now, I am a person who, growing up, when they had extra money, spent extra money. I wasn't wise enough to spend every cent I ever made. Save every cent I ever made. And I don't think that's a stupid decision. I just think I could have saved more. Probably I couldn't have, because I never made enough to really have a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't investing thousands of dollars a year back into the economy. I was making, if I made $600 a week, which I don't think I ever have, I was probably putting, maybe $100 back into entertainment or whatever. But beyond that, I never had lots of money, extra money. And these people at the top have so much extra money that they could do so much more for their low-end employees. Walmart is a great example of this. I'm not a huge fan of Walmart. I think their practices are terrible. I think that they could be paying all their employees, a minimum wage of probably $30 an hour. I'm not kidding when I say this. They could easily do that, and it wouldn't hurt them at all. The markups on their products aren't huge, but where they do make their money, it's not going to hurt them to not raise the prices of their product and still increase the wages of their base workers. It's true. This is a fact. By even raising the minimum wage to $11, it's not going to do much of anything. It really isn't. You're right. You're not going to see much more money going back into the economy, but you will see some. Because when people have an extra $100 at the end of the week, they're going to do one of two things. They will save it, probably for something that they're going to get or go on vacation, or they're going to spend it. That's really what it boils down to. The amount of money going out to the middle class and lower class is such a fraction, of the money coming in to the CEOs and the higher-ups that it's obscene. We have these government loans for colleges that the interest rate's so high that my friend Mario is still paying off his college tuition. He is almost 10 years older than me? Right around there. He's been out of college for how many years? He never was able to get a job in his field. And he's always had to take jobs that allowed him to pay the bills. When it comes down to paying the bills, or losing your car, or losing your house, or whatever it is, you have to do what you got to do. So you don't have any choice in the matter. If he could get a job in the field he went to school for, he could be making a lot more money. But the problem is that those jobs just aren't out there. We ship so much overseas, so many jobs. The technical field. I remember, 20 years ago, just when technology and IT was becoming a big thing, it was easy to get in on the ground floor, even if you didn't have a college education, because it was a needed skill. So if you knew Microsoft products, if you knew networking, if you knew, how to deal with customer support for a product, even if they taught you on the site, you could walk into a job making decent money. But those jobs aren't there anymore. You don't find them here in the United States. And if you do, they're hiring kids out of college for a fraction of what they're worth, first of all. And the people who learn the skills and never went to college can't get those jobs. So my point being is, when you say that raising the minimum wage is going to hurt this country, you're out of your mind. There are ways to drastically increase the minimum wage, 3, 4, 5-fold, and make this country spin a little bit better, or make this whole world spin a little bit better. We're foolish, or you're foolish, if you think that raising the minimum wage by $11 is A, going to hurt the country, or B, going to help the country. $11 isn't much an hour. Think about $11 an hour at a full-time wage, which a lot of these minimum wage jobs are part-time wages. if you are 19, 20, 21, you want to get married, you want to have kids, you want to buy a house, you want to get a car, you want the picket fence, you want the American dream, you're not going to do it on $11 an hour. You're going to struggle, and if you're lucky in 20 years, maybe you'll be making $15 an hour, maybe $20 an hour. And I'm not saying this in every case, but the fact of the matter is this country is back asswards, and we need... This is one of my strongest arguments. This is one of the things I like to really stress a lot. There's got to be a way for the American people to stand up and say, we've had enough of this bullshit. We can't survive. There is no middle class because you've squeezed it out of the people. You've taken every dime you can. Look at, the cost of, like, a pound of coffee. Or, I get the Folgers flavored coffees. They're $5 a pound because I don't normally get Dunkin' Donuts because it's $7, $8 a pound. That's crazy. And that's just one product. But if you look across the board, meat's going up. Just look at anything. Look at the cost of anything. And see how it's increased over the last 10 years. Just pick a product and go back. One of the great things to do is pick up, these cards or magnets that you can see that in 1975, the minimum wage was this, the cost of a house was this, the cost of a car was this, the president was this. Take a look at those. There's probably like a site online that you can search, Google it, and bring it up. And you'll see that, like, the drastic increases. My grandparents, this is going back, 40, 50 years, maybe even longer, bought their house for, I think it was like $5,000. That was, let's say that was 1955. My mother was born in 46, so right around that age they probably bought the house, 46 to 55 sometime. Now, let's move forward to 2004. Let's see, how long is that? Let's say 1950. So 1950, 1960, 70, 80, 90, 2004. So you got about 50 years. In 50 years, the cost of the house went up from $5,000 to $269,000. Now, look at the cost. Look at the minimum wage cost back then compared to now. Now, you will see that the percentage of the house value went up exponentially, just crazy, through the roof, which is good. It was a good investment. However, the next person that takes over that house is now making a lot less money than the person who bought the house based on percentages. Way less. Way, way less. This is a great example. Do the math. If somebody who bought a house for $5,000 was making $2.50 an hour or $3 an hour back then versus making, well, let's even say $11 an hour in 2004, which obviously that wasn't minimum wage. It was probably like $6.75 in Massachusetts or something like that. You couldn't afford the mortgage on a house, even a smaller house. And you couldn't live where you wanted to live either. Like, when we sold our house in Massachusetts, there was no way we could even consider affording to buy a new house in Massachusetts, or even a used house, or a house that didn't need a lot of work. We would not have been able to afford the mortgage payments. We wouldn't have been able to afford the utilities, and so on and so forth. In Lynchburg, Virginia, we moved here 10 years ago this December. Our electric bill has gone up 40% in 10 years. 40%. I mean, not at once. 5% here, 15% here. It just, every year it went up and up because there's no competition. Now, let's say we need some more jobs. Let's see. Oh, does this country need more jobs? Oh, that's right, it does. Well, let's bring in some competition. Let's start another electric company. Let's bring the cost of these things down. Let's bring the house of costs down. The cost of houses down. Or bring the minimum wage up. You can't do it both ways. You've got to bring the people up again, because the people are failing miserably. And it's really not their fault. There's a lot of talented and skilled people out there that can't afford to live anymore. And what do you think that's going to lead to over the long run? Do you think it's going to lead to, good feelings? Do you think it's going to lead to more crime? Oh, absolutely. This whole marijuana debate's a great thing. Let's say you do legalize it across the board, and let's say you release, there's probably a high percentage of people, not long-term, but, in jail for this. You're going to release all these people, they're going to need new jobs. Let's find new ways to make jobs. let's get more into this whole, the green movement. I mean, there's so many things. We're still relying on big oil because there's huge lobbyists. You get elected president, I guarantee they've got you in their pocket. We could have 20 years ago had cars. Now, here's another one. Cars. They say that most engines nowadays can't have more than, I think it's 7 or 8% ethanol. That's completely untrue. You can actually have engines built nowadays for the same cost, if not less, that will run on 85% ethanol. That's true. That's a fact. But here's a better idea. Why don't we find another form? I guarantee, they're out there. Go ahead. Go to YouTube. Look it up. There are ways to run your car on water. Literally on water. If you have the skills to do that, then I say go for it. I'm a little scared because I only have one car that I can barely afford to keep on the road as it is now. So the fact of the matter is we're just messed up as a country. And to say that raising the minimum wage, even just a few dollars, is going to ruin the economy is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So I'm not saying that she wrote that article. I'm not saying she's smart enough to write that article. I don't know enough about her. And I'm going to actually go do a little bit more research on her now because they must be spoon-feeding people, giving them that little pill. Just, here you go. Go ahead. Go say this. You want your job? Go say this. Go do this. I don't know. I really don't know. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating on a daily basis to not only struggle, but to see so many other people struggling. Smart, intelligent, even, small business owners struggling financially just to keep their doors open and keep all their employees employed. It's a sad state of affairs, my friends, and I don't think anything short of the people rising up and saying we've had enough, collectively, is going to change things. And I'm all for something. I just don't seem like I have the voice or the power to do anything. So if you have any ideas, let's throw them in the comments below. And if you're liking these videos, the political, the religious, the fun and exciting ones, the storytelling ones, the comedic ones, subscribe. I've always got something to say. And don't forget to make somebody smile today. Do your best. Let's get this world a little happier at least. At least we can all get on the same page. Maybe less is more, Maybe we need to figure out a way to tell them to screw off. You know what I mean? We don't want your money anymore. We don't want to live by your fake financial system as it is. I don't know. Maybe little communes? Maybe a little socialism mixed in? Oh, I bet you that got to you. Anywho, that's my opinion on the matter. Back tonight, we're going to talk about the major news networks, basically, and how they're all pretty much run by 3 people, or 3 organizations. And we've got some other stuff to talk about. I'm not going to tell you everything now. I'm not going to tell you it all right now. You won't come back tonight. So do come back tonight, or tomorrow morning, because I'm lazy. And I'll have some stuff to talk about. All right? So you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time on the road to 40.